Hi, my name is Kaylin Karpenko and I'm an instructional designer. This presentation will focus on copyright, fair use, intellectual property, and open educational resources in relation to online course design. This presentation is created under the Fair Use Guidelines. So why should you as an online instructor know about copyright and fair use? First of all, and perhaps the most important reason, is that these laws and guidelines protect you and your work, as well as other individuals who create content. Secondly, this is especially important for online instructors simply because internet sharing capabilities make it extremely easy for unauthorized individuals to make use of created works. As a copyright owner, you will hold exclusive rights to a work, such as making copies, creating derivative works, distributing works, or displaying or performing them. There are 4 copyright guidelines or questions to ask yourself when you are creating content for your online course. First of all, what is the character of the use? Secondly, what effect would the use have on the market for the original work? Thirdly, what is the nature of the work to be used? And lastly, how much of the work will you use? This slide will assist you in staying in compliance with those first 2 guidelines, the character of the use as well as the effect on the market. Basically, if you are a teacher using a work for non-commercial purposes within the walls of your own classroom, you will satisfy this criterion. However, if you're a teacher that plans to distribute the work beyond your classroom, such as via a DVD, you may not qualify for this fair use exemption simply because this can damage the market value of the original work. This slide will assist you with the next guideline pertaining to the nature of the work. If the work has been created for public use in the public domain or is older than the copyright laws, you will satisfy this criterion. You are free to use the work. However, if the work is an original or creative work, proceed with caution. These works typically require permission from the owner. There are very specific guidelines for the amount of work that you are to use while staying in fair use guidelines. A good rule of thumb for motion media and text is up to 10% of the original work. Poems are a bit more specific. There is a word limit of 250, and there's further limited to 3 poems or portions of poems by a single poet, or 5 poems or portions of poems by different poets from a single anthology. Again, you can see here that the 10% rule of thumb generally applies, as we can see it in music, photos and images, and database information as well. Here are some additional copyright guidelines, and these come from Cohen-Rawson's text, Teaching Online, A Practical Guide. The first one deals with students, and it states that students may incorporate portions of others' works into their multimedia creations and perform and display those creations for academic assignments. Next, we deal with faculty. The second bullet states that faculty may incorporate portions of others' works into their multimedia creations. And the third states that faculty may demonstrate their multimedia creations at professional symposia and retain them in their own portfolios. Next, there is a time limit on fair use by faculty. It is 2 years from the first instructional use of the multimedia work. And lastly, we see that there is a 2 copies limit. However, joint work creators may each have a copy. And as a copy, I'm referring to an electronic copy that is saved on a disk. Next, we'll discuss intellectual property. Your intellectual property is the work that you create, and it's crucial to protect this. First of all, you need to find out your institution's policy on the legal status of your work. Some questions that you may ask may be, do I have clear ownership rights to the course content I create, such as syllabi, lecture notes, and course outlines? Or do I have clear ownership rights to the original material that I create while teaching online? Some institutions do not grant you clear ownership rights to your work because they consider this work to be work made for hire. Other institutions may unbundle your work, which will maintain you as the owner. However, the institution may use portions of that work if they choose to do so. As I mentioned earlier, it is crucial to protect your intellectual property, and here are ways that you can do just that. First of all, you can copyright your material before making it available to your institution or class. Nextly, use common sense. Caution your students that your materials are not for distribution. You can also use a password-protected site or learning management system to deliver your course content. Furthermore, programs such as Adobe Acrobat provide options for limiting unauthorized use of your material. Lastly, you can conduct online searches periodically. For example, you can take a specific sentence from one of your original works, do a quick Google search, and see if those search results come up with any copyright offenses. Lastly, in this presentation, we'll discuss open educational resources. Open educational resources are those that are offered free for use by nonprofits and educational institutions. And generally, they do require attribution to the original creator. However, they are free to use. Over to the right on the screen, you'll see some examples of some resources that you may obtain from an OER website, such as small learning objects, images, quizzes, lesson plans, syllabi, discrete modules, or even entire courses. I've listed here some examples of some wonderful OER websites. I encourage you to check those out because they contain resources that would be great for any online course. Also, if you want acknowledgement and attribution of your work that is on publicly available sites, you can consider obtaining a Creative Commons license. Here are the references used for this presentation. Thank you.